music and, you know, traditional music that you hear at Christmas, what is the traditional word that you hear at Christmas?
Nutcracker.
Nutcracker, right. What kind of work is that? It's a ballet, right. So Tchaikowsky was really talented at writing ballet music. And so that's something that Stravinsky then continued in his early career. So the Stravinsky ballets of Firebird and Petrushka, and especially the Rite of Spring, which was just a monumental work that put the end, the final, you know, death blow to romanticism. It had a real famous premiere in which the audience broke out into fistfights. You know, they were so upset by this work, or they were so much in favor of this work that, you know, they were beating on each other with their umbrellas and stuff. And so, at any rate, all right. Balakirev, and then Cui, Sigma Cui. These guys aren't as important, but these are the Mighty Five. And so these were, you know, the nationalists. And so that was kind of the background for the musical scene in Russia. And so Tchaikowsky wasn't part of that group, but he had a lot of pressure to, you know, to be, you know, sympathetic to that approach. And there are definitely some Russian elements in Tchaikovsky's music. So. So he wrote 6 numbered symphonies, and then also the Manfred Symphony, so that's an important genre for sure. And then his ballets. So Nutcracker, Sleeping Beauty, and Swan Lake. So the story on these 2 concerti is that the piano concerto he wrote for his mentor Nicholas Rubinstein, who was a fantastic pianist, really famous Russian pianist. And when he showed him this work, Nicholas Rubinstein said that it was needlessly difficult, it's overly technical, and that he wouldn't play it. He wasn't going to learn it, and he needed to rewrite it and change all these things. And it really hurt Tchaikovsky's feelings. And but he then, you know, approached another pianist, Hans von Bülow, who's a very famous German pianist, who then agreed to play it. And then, you know, it wasn't particularly successful, but now it's one of the most famous and popular of all the piano concertos. And one of the most important music competitions is the Tchaikovsky competition that's held in Moscow every 5 years, and it's a required work for pianists. You have to play the Tchaikovsky first. And so, similar story with the violin concerto. He wrote it for the violinist and really important teacher at the Moscow Conservatory. His name is Leopold Auer. And Leopold Auer actually was the teacher of Jascha Heifetz that we just heard the recording of the Mendelssohn. Also David Oistrakh. So really important pedagogue. But he said the same thing. It's too hard. You know, it's overly technical, and he rejected it. And so Tchaikowsky found another violinist to premiere it. His name is Brodsky. And it was premiered in Vienna. And then the critic Hanslick then just wrote all these awful things about it, just really, criticized the work. And, but yet now this has become, one of the most important and, most beloved of the violin concerti. And Leopold Auer had then second thoughts later about it. So maybe I was wrong. Maybe if we, made these cuts, that this would make it better. And so now traditionally it's performed with Leopold Auer cuts in the third movement of the work. So he still had a way of, kind of influencing this. But at any rate, Tchaikowsky had a very, difficult way with things. He actually traveled to the United States and participated in the concerts that were part of the opening of Carnegie Hall in 1891. Let's write that here. But again, he was criticized because he wasn't flamboyant enough as a conductor, and it was too reserved. And he conducted his Sixth Symphony, the Pathétique. And at any rate, then he returns to Russia. There was an outbreak of cholera. And Tchaikowsky intentionally drank unboiled water, and so some consider that he committed suicide by doing that, but he contracted cholera and died of that in 1893. So the violin concerto we're going to listen to was written over about a 4-year period. And actually it's written exactly the same time as the last work that we're going to listen to, which is this Brahms' second piano concerto, the B-flat major concerto. And so this is a very brilliant, virtuosic type of work. Tchaikowsky was someone who was a great orchestrator and is especially known for the memorable melodies that he wrote. Like he'll, go away from hearing Tchaikovsky's works, kind of, humming the melodies. So, third movement is, of course, we're going to listen to this performance that has the Leopold Auer cuts, and so it changes the form somewhat, but it's, there are a couple of things that are Russian about this. First thing has to do with the A theme of the third movement, and that this is in the style of a type of Russian dance that's called a trepak. So Tchaikowsky was a type of dance. It's quick. It's in a duple meter. It's associated with the Cossacks. The Cossacks were a nomadic tribe, and they were great horsemen. And so you have kind of a galloping rhythm associated with the Tchaikowsky. One of the famous Tchaikowskys that you probably know is from the Nutcracker, the Russian dance. And there's the so you had that, and it sounds like galloping horses. So you have this basic pattern. 2/16 and an eighth note. So So what you're going to hear in this last movement theme is this opening that recalls this type of dance music. So here we So you hear that rhythm. All right. And the second thing is this tableau idea, which is just, loose connections of musical scenes. So some, historians have said, that during Holy Week that the Eastern Church would put on these parades in which the scenes of the Passion of Christ would be staged. You would have each cart would have then one scene, and you'd have the succession of scenes, these tableaus. So that's one thing that we'll hear in this last movement. Is just has really brief transition passages. So what's going to happen in this last movement, and then we'll stop here, and as you're going to have this opening Tchaikowsky. It has an introduction. This is in the key of D major. And brief transition to this B theme, which is marked meno mosso, which means less motion, in other words, slower. It's in the expected dominant key. You then have a C theme that's in the relative minor of the dominant, so it's in the median key. So that's an F sharp minor. Then that Tchaikowsky theme comes back in tonic, but then the B theme is in subdominant. One thing about the C theme, the B theme is marked meno mosso, and then C theme is marked molto meno mosso. So a lot less motion, so a lot slower. And so those themes come back in subdominant. And then there's the same relationship. This is the relative minor of the subdominant. And then you have A and coda. They're kind of spliced together. And so you basically just have these three musical scenes that are presented twice. And then the A idea comes back at the end and leads to a really good coda. All right, so we'll finish this on Tuesday, and then we'll also do the Brahms. I'm thinking that I'll give you an extra class period to study for the test, if you like, so that will make it 2 weeks from today instead of on the Tuesday when you get back from midterm. But we'll pretty much be finished with this section on Tuesday. And we'll go ahead and start to do a review. So print off the review questions, start looking at those over the weekend so that you can then have any questions that come up as you're trying to pull together the information. But that's what we'll do. Okay, that'll be our plan.